I'll let.
Yep,
Just
recording is on.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Rodney.
Yeah. As an introduction of myself, hello, everyone. My name is Rodney Elder. I am a global principal at Equinix. And some of the things that I do here are all about 5G and Edge. I work very closely with our office of the CTO team at Equinix. So we do a great deal of projects around the open community. We are a member of the LFN, and I work and have done a good deal of things with Oleg Berzin. So I'm saying that because I want to make sure that I give Oleg all the due credit for the hard work that he has put into his projects within the LFN, the public-private interconnect framework, and then subsequently even more work that he's done with partners like ARNA Networks. And so in today's session here on the Super Blueprint, a topic that has come up that I've been experiencing is around edge site selection and placement. Basically, and essentially what that means is how does a 5G operator, public or private, decide where edge elements, and in this particular case, I think some of the conversations we've had, we've looked at focusing in just on the UPF element of 5G standalone. Where do they decide to place that UPF? And how do they decide where to place the UPF? And interestingly, in the last couple of weeks, additional conversations I've had across the commercial industry is there is a struggle. This is a real thing where there's expectations and assumptions made about where those elements should go. So in this session, I thought we should be able to have a discussion. I do have some slides to walk through, but in no way do I want to make this a monologue. Also, I have a couple of demonstrations. One of the demonstrations is actually by ARNA, demonstrating how they have built some tools to help automate the deployment of edge-related elements, not specifically to UPF, but it's the first sort of step. And so my hope and goal out of this is to have this discussion, get some validation from this community on the problem set, perhaps walk away from this discussion as well with an understanding of what others are seeing as the things that go into this particular problem. So with that, I wanted to start with this slide, and if you haven't seen this, it's been in the LFN for some time, but I thought it was important to level set when we're talking about edge. And in this particular case, when we're talking about UPF and placement of UPF, today, I'm seeing where UPF, when we talk about private 5G or 5G in a box, the UPF is very often out here at the user edge or the on-prem device. Most of the 5G in a box solutions have UPF there. In fact, they certainly have it. And what we're seeing is not a lot of these 5G in a box where the UPF is at the edge has necessarily looked at UPF here at the regional edge. So the question becomes is why not? And what are the contributing factors to where that particular function goes? And we'll walk into that in a second. So to that end, I thought I would jump right into talking about some of the things that we're doing at Equinix to help the wider community work through this problem set. So before I continue, I just want to get any thoughts, inputs, comments, or just kind of kick off prompt the conversation to get going. Where's my chat window? Oh, there it is. Sorry, my chat window was hidden. Never mind. So no comments, thoughts. You can just keep going. Well, my friend today. There we go. Okay, no one's coming off mute. Fair enough. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to level set what I'm talking about. And I guess I'll do that just simply by talking about the first tool that we've built here at Equinix. And what we've done is taken the free 5GC open source package and built it on our Network Edge platform. Our Network Edge platform is a hosted virtual machine platform. Specifically, it's targeted to host cloud networking functions. And what we've done is taken the free 5GC package and placed it on 3 virtual machines. We've also included a virtual route function to handle all of the layer 3 inner workings necessary between each of the virtual machines. We've targeted the virtual machines to run certain functions of the free 5GC. We've got a core virtual machine. We have the RAN virtual machine, and then the UPF virtual machine. We've already built into this all of the device linking necessary for these 4 elements, pardon me, to interact. And we've included a NAT function so that any of the data networking bound traffic to the internet, adjacent compute, or the cloud can be handled. Now, the interesting part about this from our point of view is that this is now available to anyone who's an Equinix customer. Simply reach out to myself or Oleg, and we will have a discussion about what your use case looks like. In this particular conversational topic around UPF and edge site placement, we're actively wanting to utilize this as a tool. We can deploy it in more than 20 locations globally and interlink them together. What this gives us is an opportunity in the real world to see how UPF at a high interconnect location like an Equinix performs. And our intent and goal here is to allow the application developers, and I personally think that I don't know of any other place in the market, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you could turn up a 5G infrastructure in 20 major or 20 plus major metro markets globally. I'm not even sure I know of a global operator who necessarily has that capability across the world either. So we have this up and running. We drive into what it really looks like. So this is the meat and potatoes of what we've built from a portal with a few clicks and some information. All of this gets instantiated in the metro market. We've also been, I should say, Oleg has also demonstrated placing a virtualized remote UE and building a tunnel back to the route function that sits, and today we're just using a Cisco, to allow a remote UE to gain access to both the UPF function and the core. So what is interesting here is that we've enabled all of this device linking. None of this has to be, recreated by the users, and it can come and go. So because we've got this in our network edge platform, and it's a production, not for production commercial traffic, but production for development, an application developer could spin up 4 or 5 of these, test their app directly on this UPF cluster, because it is a virtual machine running Ubuntu, get their experience, and then tear it down. And I have some additional screenshots. So this is what you get when it comes up. It's a pretty basic screenshot from Free5GC. Many of you have probably already seen this. And then you have the ability to test from the UE, the simulated UE, all the way out to the public internet, and really get a sense of what the application and how the application is going to perform. You can see this directly from the command line of each one of the virtual machines. And so with that, I'll pause again if there's any comments. So far, this is less of a discussion and more of a dialogue monologue from me. So looking to see if anyone comes off mute. Okay, great. No, a couple people came off mute.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was just one question from my side. Like, how much of the infrastructure piece of this is the same as the 5G Super Blueprint?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, as well as, seeing the free 5GC and, all of this, and kind of the overall, kind of framing of this presentation. I'd kind of like to know, how much of this has been implemented in 5G Super Blueprint, how much of this is roadmap to get into the integration work of 5G Super Blueprint, and sort of just where we are in doing this. Because, I mean, I think this could be something, quite a bit for us to celebrate in the 5G Super Blueprint work that we've done.
Yeah, and that's a good discussion point. That's a good prompt, a good question. So my point of view on this topic and edge site selection, right, was really focused on that topic of where and how do the operators decide where to place the UPF. So this is less about this particular tool set, the fact that we at Equinix have got this free 5GC available on our network edge. So I don't want to make it a sales pitch for that, right? It's a discussion around, can the 5G Super Blueprint tackle the topic of how to decide where to place UPF in a 5G framework?
Okay, so less about the technology required to do the placement, and more around how service providers are making that decision, and what guidance they can give, or what guidance they might need to help them, if they've got tools available to place, how they decide around what to do that. Okay.
Right. And we tend to gravitate the conversation toward the operators, but I see this as much and it all depends on how an entity, anyone achieves private 5G, or, so it's public or private. And just simply because, like in the example I said, the 5G in a box offerings in the market have UPF in the box, and it goes at the far edge. Why? shouldn't, or should the UPF be aggregated if there's, so that's the point, right? It's how do you make the decision about, because UPF is so elementary important to the additional functions of 5G, network slicing, traffic offload, the preservation of the capabilities of 5G standalone, all of the things that the 5G standard gives us becomes pivotal at the UPF, where this traffic that comes off and is destined for either the public internet or private networks needs to be handled according to the way the slice has been defined. So that's the thing that I'm discussing here. And I can give another tool, another demo. This is an interesting interest of time. How are we doing on time? About 9 minutes left. I don't want to take, well, I can do this. We've been working with ARNA, and I'm not sure how well this is going to work on Zoom. So I'm just going to play this. It's a six minute demo of what ARNA is doing in standing up and automating the deployment of elements. And in this, you can just as well assume that the UPF could be the compute function that ARNA is deploying. Oops. So what they've done here is, oh, apologies, it's going too fast. Let me see if I can slow it down a little bit. I'll voice over it here because there's no audio. Apologies. Pause. Okay. So what ARNA has is their service, and it's subscribable. They take and build a network from an Azure zone. They include a route function. In this case, it's in Dallas. And then they include an Equinix compute function connected to that route function as well. And what they're doing is, next slide here, go. You drop into the ARNA interface, you load all of the necessary information that you want to create the network topology. And then it gives you the map of where those things are going to be loaded up. Give us some more details on the specifics of how you want the edge metal created. In this particular case, the edge metal might be an operator or an entity building a UPF. But here I'm going to pause because all of this is relatively manual, and it all assumes that the human has already made the decisions around, okay, I need to turn up compute to perform a UPF function, and I need that to be in Dallas. The question becomes is what went into that decision. So edge site placement, and in this context, UPF, but edge site placement in the context of 5G Super Blueprint could be something other than just UPF. It could be a compute function. And the question is, what were the parameters that went into the decision to turn it up in a particular location? I'm going to pause here again.
I was going to say, is this, 5G SBP folks, LJ, I don't know if Rani's on this morning. I see Mudassar here. Is this a topic that we've talked about in 5G Super Blueprint? I mean, I know in 5G Super Blueprint, we are often generally focused on the technology required to serve a particular use case. And this seems to be a little bit, I don't know, higher level, because this is more kind of, I guess, about strategy and policy. We don't necessarily have the, I'm forgetting the name of it, the the service provider, sort of council anymore, because this could have been a sort of topic there. But, I think, in terms of, ONAP, we do talk about slicing, we might not be talking about placement of applications on edge, but is this something that's coming up in conversations in any of our projects or any of our initiatives? And if not, should it, or are we the right place? And are we the right place? Do we have the right players, to be engaged in this conversation? Or is there activity that could, help the ecosystem, right? Like, are there experiments that we can run, and operators interested enough in us running experiments of this sort in this venue to help them? So kind of trying to throw that out to the sort of, wider audience of, participants here. Are we having any of these conversations on that topic? And, if not, do we believe somewhere within LFN, is a correct and appropriate venue?
Yeah, that precisely. And what I'm offering here is simply, well, again, back to that 5G Super Blueprint, UPF. Where does the UPF go? But and as importantly, how do you make that decision? What are the elements that you need to understand in order to make that decision? And then how can we demonstrate that? And what, ARNA has done is automated some of the ways of being able to actually implement that. What Oleg has done as well is built terraforms so that you could take advantage of this free 5GC that we've built. But out of these tools, is there a use case that we in the LFN and specifically in the 5G Super Blueprint should be building to help the community decide where specifically UPF gets placed? So, and maybe this is too far out, but I can share with all of you that this is a real issue that the implementers of this technology are struggling with.
Hi, this is Yogendra. So Hita just wanted to add a comment to what Rodney mentioned. So in the 5G Super Blueprint, right, in the previous demos, if you have seen, we have selected some of the sites and we have showcased a specific use case in terms of like a URLCC use case or EMBB use case, right? But what we have done there is we have picked up a site and we just went ahead and do it. We haven't added the logic of what is the site is giving in terms of the latency and it's capable of, right? And that's where I see the Rodney's use case is actually filling that gap. And this is what can be reused in the slicing solutions, which we have done it in the past, and actually showcase that when you have to select the 2 sites or multiple sites as an offering from a managed service provider, he can actually run through this and actually get the real time, the stack which is going to use it underneath is capable of running the latency and able to meet the use case of whether it's a ultra low latency or it's IoT density based or it's a EMBB, and then actually finalize and go and deploy the whole thing. So that's where this could be a perfect fit for it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense to me. And it sounds as though perhaps within the context of 5G Super Blueprint, sort of providing, some of these capabilities and with the, rest of the capabilities we've, been working on there, maybe showing, maybe so, it sounds as though you're referencing maybe some telemetry that you're able to look at to sort of compare the impact of placement in different places. And, maybe that's the next step. And then we can start to look at, okay, if you're able to get this data, then how does service providers start to make such a decision, perhaps, or something like that?
Yeah, agreed. So what
Okay.
we're demonstrating here is taking these open source packages and placing them at a metro edge, but just as well, these packages could be placed on compute in a private scenario at the far edge or placed in virtual private compute in the cloud, right? So the Super Blueprint is how do you spin something? You want to deploy UPF. Where do you spin it up so that you can begin modeling how it's going to function? And I think the comment, and it's a very good one, right? Is as we take network slicing from the standard and that it's capable to real world deployments, decisions need to be made around how those slices get handled, right? So yeah, time check here. It's the top of the hour. Anyway, I'll just close up. I really appreciate everyone listening and indulging me and the inputs. One of the, what I guess my call to action here is I don't want to be the sole source of this particular topic or problem, but in the Super Blueprint and the edge site selection page, if you're interested in this, I'm very eager to have others participate and either further define the problem, create that use case, create the demonstrations, but I want to make it very relevant to the wider community. So with that, I openly look for other contributors and collaborators.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you for the time and the attention.
Very much appreciated. Okay.